during the break, so I didn't do that. John, just IM me, because I'm down in Texas. They're up in Minnesota, and he airs the calls for me. I can also take calls here at my studio, but I'm not going to do that today, at least right now. So just IM me, the callers ASAP there, John, and I'm going to take calls this segment. I want to take 30, 40, 50 calls this hour, because I've got Dr. Corsi coming on to talk about Barack Obama and the economy and a lot more. And then, of course, I got the Money Masters folks coming on for 2 hours, experts on the economy, to go over what the globalists are doing to us right now. The impending doom is now starting to settle in. People now are finally listening to me. People are finally listening to this show. They're finally taking everything that they heard us say in the past on the thousands of radio interviews I've done, the scores of interviews, I know it's like 50-something on Coast to Coast AM over the last 5 years, the scores of interviews I've done on Alan Combs' syndicated show and on Lars Larson, and just hundreds of big shows I've done, thousands of little shows. And they heard me lay out how the bankers were going to implode the dollar and rape you. They've heard the expert guests we've had on cover it. They heard us tell you how they'd slip in National Guard and just announce, oh, they're not just going to fight terror, they're going to fight gun crime. That's now been announced in Chicago, just slipped into an NBC News report with the governor saying gun crime's so bad, illegal guns are so bad, we're going to use National Guard. And then the reporter added helicopters, so everybody limits it to just the helicopters. No, it's going to be on the ground. We've got these reports of, hundreds of thousands of plastic coffins masked. I did track back the company and did indeed even get photos of them delivering them on the backs of flatbacks. It is outside Atlanta, hundreds of thousands of plastic coffins and their lids. We've got the globalists gearing up to attack Iran. There is probably no doubt now that they're going to attack Iran unless we get the word out and expose what this is going to mean financially. They've got propaganda polls out with 46% of Americans saying that they want to hit Iran. I don't even believe that poll. They have key little poll numbers they can call where they know what response they're going to get because you've got 70+% against the Iraq war. How could you have 40-something% for the war? There is just so much happening. And this doesn't have to happen. This doesn't have to happen. The people that are destroying America are in control of our government. And it isn't George Bush that's doing it. It isn't Barack Obama that's doing it. And we need to come to grips with that because we put all of our heat, all of our exposés into exposing George Bush for 7.5 years. And then he leaves, and in comes Barack Obama or John McCain, and the New World Order Party just continues. And I know you, the listeners, know that. But the public has not figured that out yet completely. I mean, you've got Scientific Gallup and other polls that show 9%. Multiple big national polls show 9% approval rating for Congress. Well, then how can you have another poll showing 43% want to hit Iran, 46% don't? Let me correct that. Still, that's close to half wanting to. I mean, I don't believe that. Or even if that's true, we need to reach out to these people and say, do you like paying $4.50 a gallon on average for gas? Do you like paying $5.50, $6 in some areas of the country, some mountainous areas, some remote areas? It's $5+ in California on average. Do you like this? I mean, do you know what this is going to mean? Do you have any idea? And please don't tell me, oh, poor Israel. There's all these articles. Poor Israel, they just can't defend themselves. They've got slingshots, and those Iranians, they have special bombs to knock out communications, totally made up. They've got nukes. They're going to destroy Israel. Israel has hundreds and hundreds of high-tech nukes and high-tech weapons. The Israeli Knesset, 4 years ago, one of the leaders threatened to nuke Europe if they didn't pay Holocaust reparations. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, what you've got is a bunch of egomaniacs in the U.S., England, and Israel. Not the people of England, not the people of Israel, not the people of the U.S. Most of them are just like us, don't know their head from a hole in the ground. And the polls there, 45, 50%, depending on which poll you look at, are against going into Iran. In Israel, 70-something% don't like being in Iraq, don't like the fact the U.S. is there. Same thing in the U.S. I mean, why is this happening? Because we have tyrannical governments that are on complete and total power trips. They say, hey, we've got to use the power we've got. We've got thousands of nukes in the U.S., thousands in England, conservatively hundreds of high-tech nukes and missiles and cruise missiles and bombers and fighter bombers and submarines and missile cruisers in the Gulf. I mean, Israel is just super high-tech aircraft and surveillance and everything else. And they're just saying, hey, we can go ahead and attack Iran, and when they defend themselves, we'll call it terrorism, and then we'll nuke them. Using DU bunker busters to spread uranium everywhere, and then watch their birth defects skyrocket. And if Iran defends itself in any way, we are going to use nukes all over your country. And Iran lays there and takes it for 5 years as U.S. Special Forces command now it's 5 different Wahhabist Sunni al-Qaeda groups. And I'm not getting into Sunni versus Shiite. Man, there are now Sunni people on YouTube and Google Video attacking me because I keep pointing out that they're using Sunni groups to attack Iran that's Shiite. I'm just reporting the facts here. Can you believe this show? I'm attacked by liberals, neocons, people out of Dubai, people out of Afghanistan are attacking me in news publications. I'm being attacked out of Saudi Arabia because that is another criminal group working with Israel and the United States. And I know it's shameful for you Wahhabists. You claim you're fighting the West all day. You were created by British intelligence. And because you'd go in and overthrow elected governments all over the Middle East to put your Wahhabist form of government in, you were hired 90-plus years ago by the British. You were hired by Hitler again, and you were hired by the British and the U.S. after World War II. You were a shameful group of people. I don't mean your Sunni brand of Islam. I'm not a Muslim. I'm not wading in on Shiite, versus Sunni. I'm not involved in all that. But just don't deny the White House admits, and you admit, you're attacking Iran. Iran doesn't have Shiites running around in Saudi Arabia blowing stuff up. In fact, if you look at the military forces of the Sunnis, they're a bunch of clowns, man. They're filled with British and U.S. and Israeli intelligence. And I look at the Shiites every time, and they're not. It was Shiites that beat Israel when they went into Lebanon. So let's just face it, Shiites are the ones that the New World Order are after. While the media tells you that the real threat is the Sunnis, is the Wahhabist sect of the Sunnis, when you guys are literally from the womb of the New World Order. And I don't mean your brand of Islam. I mean the last 90 years, your leadership is British intelligence. And now they've got their little satellite Israel and the U.S. God help us. God help us. Wes in Texas. Oh, Patrick's first. Patrick in California. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex, how's it going? Today I was coming off the BART train in San Francisco, and it was funny, some weeks ago they had this electrical outage, and they fixed it, and then they had some dogs running through, bomb dogs going through, and then all of a sudden they had a bomb scare like 2 weeks ago, and now they got today brand new surveillance cameras all in. What's going to happen next? Rudy Giuliani going to show up in San Francisco?
Like he did in England with the Mossad?
Exactly.
For 7/7?
Exactly.
Of course, an Israeli company running the security, and then doing the deal with Visor Consultancy for doing a drill of the exact same locations being attacked at the exact same time.
Yeah.
You hear that, police? Yeah, well, here's the deal. You can LexisNexis or Google, but the really good service, obviously, is LexisNexis. I was just reminded by that by a caller last week. And you can find where the government kept mailing anthrax to other offices but scaring their employees, and it turned out, remember that in 99, 2000? Mm-hmm. Hundreds of it, and it turned out it was the feds, quote, testing security. They've had the Navy SEALs do attack drills on embassies and not tell people it's a drill and people freak out. It's the same thing, and then it's a cover. And, yes, most of your bomb threats, at least the trigger bomb threats that then cause copycats, are the police. And they, quote, do it to test security. No, they do it to create the perception of terrorism to scare the sheeple into submission.
Right. And in England, they, filmed the whole thing when they bombed on 7/7. And so when these new security cameras went up, I was like, ding, 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 here it is. It was strange.
Well, in Canada, people have gone up before the legislature. In fact, I want to play that later. I sent that to you, John, and have eloquently told the government, we know you've hired the same security company that was in charge on 7/7. And if anything happens, we're going to blame you. And the Speaker of the Parliament just freaks out and just looks like he's been caught with his hand in the cookie jar. It's incredible. Thank you for the call. I'm going to move quickly. Wes, Matt, Joe, Don, and others. Your calls when we get back as we accelerate towards three big guests today as we look deeply into the economy. The New World Order plan to implode our economy by design is going ahead, ladies and gentlemen. How do we stop them?